Well, we don't blink.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome everybody to your September meeting of the Virginia State Board of Elections. Call the meeting to order. Ask our secretary to call the roll, please.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Here.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye. Oh,
Dr.
here.
Dr. Stolly.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Secretary Elvis Long here.
Great, thank you. Would you present the minutes from the last meeting, please?
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, the August 12th, 2025 State Board of Elections meeting minutes have been distributed to the board for their review. If there are no corrections or additions, then I would request that you ask for a motion to approve them as distributed and presented.
A motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Elvis Long, aye.
Great, thank you very much. Couple of informational items. We are going to move the item 7 on the original agenda related to the personal use of campaign finance funds to the end of the meeting today after the closed session. This is 3.5 pages of italicized new code that we're going to discuss with our legal counsel before we take a final vote on that. So I'm sorry, but if you're interested in that, it's going to be after the closed session, but you're welcome to attend that part of the meeting. Also, I want to thank Vice Chair Dance for attending the cyber security meeting over at the Fusion Center this last month, I guess.
Yes. Yes, sir. And it was very, very interesting, very highlighting the information that they shared, and just to see the localities working together in problem solving, answering, addressing issues that was new to me, but I learned a lot from the process.
Getting prepared for the election. All right, we'll now move on to public comment, and is the usual procedure. We'll take public comment from people here in person, and then we'll take public comment from those online and virtual. Remember, if you're online and virtual, you need to be seen and heard for your public comment to count. So welcome, introduce yourself.
My name is Joanne Steeden, and I'd like to speak to the methods of conducting a post-election audit. I've observed and participated in both methods as an electoral board member. Both of these methods have things in common. They both require hand counting of ballots, and they both are based on statistical processes which require that more samples might be needed to be counted in order to reach a statistically satisfying outcome. The ballot poll method uses a sampling of ballots, and the batch comparison method uses a sampling of precincts. Both of these processes provide statistically legitimate outcomes. I have previously provided you with data concerning the cost of the batch comparison method, which shows that it is significantly higher than the ballot poll method. This cost is not only in money, but in time and resources. The question is whether there are benefits in the batch comparison method that warrant this additional cost. The batch comparison method has been described as having basically 2 benefits: less confusion for the public and showing that the scanners count the ballots correctly. Regarding confusion for the public, anyone who watches TV news in the months before an election knows how a sample survey works, as is done by the ballot poll method, which is a standard random sample technique. In the ballot comparison method, instead of counting random ballots, every ballot is counted in a random sample. In this type of audit, different rules are used for counting the undervotes than in the election itself, which usually results in a difference in the count done by the election and in the audit. This difference can be explained because of the different ways of counting undervotes. However, I remember in the June 23 primary in Loudoun, it required considerable explaining to the people in attendance to understand why the numbers were different, although the audit was said to be valid. In the November 23 audit in Loudoun, because of the large number of undervotes, the audit failed to meet the statistical requirement on the first round, and it was required to do additional samples on a second day. However, the public was told that the scanners were 100% in counting the ballots, but that the statistical criteria was not met on the first round. If there's a concern for confusion, this certainly has confusion. The other benefit provided for the batch comparison method is that it shows that the scanners count the ballots correctly. However, this process is something which is always done prior to the election, the LNA process, which is basically a sample election that's performed on every scanner, and a group of ballots are marked to account for every position on the ballot, then hand counted, then run through the scanner, and the results of the hand count and the scanner count are compared. So in summary, I would suggest that the batch comparison method is, one, more costly in money, time, and resources, more confusing because of the different rules in conducting the election and conducting the audit, and superfluous because comparing a hand count to the scanner count has already been done prior to the election, not just on a couple of scanners, but on every scanner, in every precinct, in every locality before every election. Thank you for listening. Did I make it to 3 minutes?
Joanne, you're fine. So you're speaking to the item on our agenda today, which is the requirement that we pick the method that will be used for the risk limiting audit after the election.
Correct.
And are you speaking for a group or for yourself?
I'm speaking for myself.
You're speaking for yourself? Thank you, ma'am. And just for everybody's understanding, the obligation will be at our next meeting to pick which, we're required to audit one House of Delegates race. This is what statute says, and that's got to be by more than 1% difference. So this is not going to be a huge number of ballots this go round. But your comments are appreciated, and we thank you for that.
Thank
Okay. All right. Now, who else has signed up?
Next, I have Michael Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Thomas with McGraw Woods Consulting. We represent ES&S, which is currently about half of Virginia voters vote on our equipment. The company has a 40-year history of developing quality election systems. And I want to speak to the agenda item regarding an updated standard for certification of voting machines. The handout is for reference, but I will make specific reference to that. And we do appreciate the opportunity to provide written comments on the draft standard. There wasn't a lot of time to prepare them and no real ability to discuss them. But I'm going to focus on one of the things that we did submit, and that is to the need for some sort of maintenance exceptions for systems that are currently certified and currently installed. Because the way the draft is currently worded, you would not be able to do much beyond a de minimis change. And so, and I'm going to touch on a couple of aspects of that. The EAC, which must first do certification at the federal level, and it's the entity that develops the voluntary guidelines that Virginia is chosen to adopt, and then adds our own specific requirements from our state law to. That entity handles things a little bit differently than the proposed standard. With the EAC, there is this maintenance exception that even goes beyond the period of time, 12 months, I think, in which they continue to certify new systems under the old standard. The four categories of the maintenance exceptions are security update, which is implied can be done automatically in Virginia because a system is subject to decertification if you don't do it, and so it's implied that it's granted. Bug fixes, COTS replacement, jurisdictional rule changes, and then updating and adding new components. And so it's the last two I want to touch on very briefly. The jurisdictional rule change, I think, is particularly important. Most of you, or one of you, served in the General Assembly previously, and you know how often the General Assembly changes Virginia election law. And so let's say the election law is changed during the coming session that requires some modification to an existing installed system, regardless of the manufacturer. Under the proposed standards, the submittal for certification of that upgrade would have to be judged against the new federal standard, the 2.0 voluntary guidelines. This creates a problem for localities in that, and for the manufacturers too, in that you're required to do these, but the state board, the department won't be able to evaluate them amount of time, Mr. Chair.
Announced at the start of the public comment that we request
sorry.
people go to 3 minutes. I'll give you a couple more minutes to finish up.
Okay, I appreciate that. I would have organized it a little bit different. I apologize to the members. But manufacturers, localities need this flexibility. And so regardless of what you do, we believe that at a minimum, you need to incorporate this or incorporate these standards. What I've distributed, I cut and paste from the EAC's voluntary guidelines. These are not my words. These are their words, and therefore, I think a reasonable standard. We would ask, if possible, that you delay adoption of this to allow time for each manufacturer of voting systems currently certified in Virginia to actually meet with the Department of Elections and go through what we and they see as the impacts of this, so that it's at least understood going forward. But whether or not that happens, we believe at a minimum there needs to be this maintenance exception in there in our standards, so that y'all can certify these required changes or these desirable changes that could be approved by the EAC, but they're approved to the underlying version of the election system. So it's something has to be 2.0 compliant if it's a new component that's desirable, but they only certified as 1.0, therefore it wouldn't qualify. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to talk later with anyone that would like, but that's my remarks, and thank you for the extra time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else here in person that'd like to speak?
Joan Port.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joan Port on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Virginia. The new SAVE system relies on flawed and unreliable data that risks unfairly targeting naturalized citizens and other eligible voters from removal from the rolls. This could lead to unjust investigations and prosecutions. The League strongly opposes using the SAVE system as now construed, because it could purge voters, especially given that it was developed secretly without necessary transparency or any public input. We remain committed to defending every eligible voter's right to register, to prevent illegal purges, and to assure their vote is counted. We know that it is required under VA 242.04 to use SAVE. However, the law also allows for the state board to promulgate rules and regulations governing the use of the immigration status and citizenship status information that is received from the SAVE Act. So we request that the state board promulgate a regulation telling elect to check results of any comparison with SAVE against other governmental databases because of the flaws and the unreliability of the new SAVE program. Thank you.
Anybody else here in person? Who do we have online, Ms. Tyson?
Online, I have Ben Lesser. Ben Lesser. Next, I have Mary McDaniel.
Good morning, I'm Mary McDaniel, and I am with the Fairfax City Electoral Board, but my comments today are limited to me personally, not to the board as a whole. I have read the Executive Order number 53, which was issued on Friday the 12th, and I'm going to ask that during your meeting today that you provide clarity to item number 4. It regards a tabletop exercise that is to be conducted by the opening of early voting on Friday involving the Fusion Center, the Department of Emergency Management, and the Department of Elections. This seems to be different than the tabletop exercise that was done on August 26th, which really focused on cybersecurity. And I'm just trying to find out what the status is of that particular item.
Next,
Ben Lester's available
Ne-
if the board chooses.
Did you want to take Ben Lesser or?
no, we can do him.
Okay. Ben, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the board. I apologize technical difficulties here. My name is Ben Lester. I live in Fairfax County, not far from Alexandria, have for about 31 years. I'm very glad to see that Governor Youngkin issued the executive order number 53 on election security. I note that he has ordered quick action to be done before our early voting begins. And I understand that there have been enhancements by the Department of Homeland Security to the SAVE database, which I heartily endorse, and that the governor is explicitly ordering elect to use it, allowing for streamlined voter list accuracy checks. I respectfully remind Commissioner Beals that the governor is ordering a comprehensive evaluation of any new functionality that is added to SAVE by federal officials to identify non-citizen voters. I have 4 specific requests actually, for the board. First, please post on your website any specific portions of state or federal law that might prevent you, in your view, from fully complying with Executive Order 53. Second, please post on your website your progress complying with each section of Executive Order 53. Please especially report your efforts to assure that non-citizens are not voting in Virginia elections and diluting the votes of Virginia citizens. Point 3, please more carefully evaluate HAVA complaints and post your response to each complaint on your website, redacting, of course, as necessary, any names and other sensitive information. Finally, please timely report on your website the results of your tabletop exercise, any problems that it disclosed, and your efforts to fix them. Mr. Chairman and board members, I thank you for your time, for your gracious attention to my comments, and for the work you're doing to strengthen Virginia's voting process. That concludes my comments.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next,
And next, I have Ann Gregorian.
Ms. Gregorian, welcome.
Ms. Gregorian, can you unmute yourself?
After,
Yes, hello, I'm sorry.
there you are.
System
Welcome.
error. Yes, thank you for the opportunity. First, I would, as always, like to request that you reinstate public comment after agenda items, as sometimes the information given during presentation by the staff is relevant to some of our concerns and questions. Second, I would like to address agenda item number 7 and request that the presenter, the voting system manager, could please put a little emphasis or explanation on page 89 of your working documents. Standard, RL 10.10-A.1 references cast vote records in relation to risk limiting audits. And I would like to know how the risk limiting audit is related to the cast vote records under the standard. We have referenced code 24.2-671.2 to relate to the standard as a requirement for Virginia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next.
Next, I have Shelley Oberlander.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Bannon and other members of the State Board of Elections and Commissioner Beals. My name is Shelley Oberlander. I'm one of the electoral board members of Loudoun County. I'm speaking today, however, solely on behalf of myself, not representing the whole entire board. I'd like to address the risk limiting audit section of today's agenda. and encourage you to vote for the batch comparison method by majority vote for the statutory required risk limiting audit of the upcoming House of Delegates race. In Loudoun, we did conduct 2 batch comparison method risk limiting audits that were very successful, as did other counties in Virginia. I disagree with the report given earlier. The Loudoun batch comparison method audit was not more costly. It was very inexpensive. In our primary election audit referenced, there was only a difference of 5 votes, which, as you know, can happen in any hand count, and it did not affect the outcome of the election. The results of that first audit were 99% accurate. The results of our second audit were 97% accurate. And as you know, the state board allows a risk limit of 90%. So we were well within those margins. Ms. Speeden's locality also did a batch comparison risk limiting audit, and it went very well to my understanding. And she did not reference her own, but referenced Loudoun, where in Loudoun we're very pleased with the outcomes of our batch comparison method audits. I wanted to highlight some of the benefits of a batch comparison method audit. It's easy to conduct, especially for smaller races like the House of Delegates. The batch comparison method has benefits. It is easier for those observing and those involved to understand what's occurring. It provides an opportunity for a hand count of all the ballots in a batch, such as a whole precinct. It verifies the accuracy of the voting machines as well as verifies the election. And I've seen that it increases voter confidence in our Virginia elections. I ask you to please take this into consideration as you choose the method for the upcoming risk limiting audit for the House of Delegates race. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Now, is there anyone else who'd like to do public comment?
I have no further public comment.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Beals, your report.
Chairman O'Bannon, Vice Chair Dance, members of the board. Since the board's last meeting, there was a special election for the 11th Congressional District in Fairfax City and Fairfax County. Today, the board is going to consider the certification of this election. I attended the post-election canvass in Fairfax County last week for that special, and they have a very impressive operation when they do a canvass. It was great to be able to meet with them, and some other registrars from some other localities attended as well to see how Fairfax County handles their post-election canvass. Additionally, the department hosted an election preparedness tabletop, as you mentioned, in coordination with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. The event included general registrars, their staff members, electoral board members, and representatives from state and federal agencies, with 124 stakeholders participating. So we want to extend special thanks to the Fusion Center for hosting us for that. Election officials around the Commonwealth are preparing for the November general election, including testing their machines, printing ballots, prepping mail ballots that have been requested by registered voters, and setting up for early voting to begin this Friday. I just want to send a special thanks to everyone who is toiling very much to try to get ready for Friday, getting their ballots printed, getting their mailed ballots out the door. We just very much appreciate you. I wanted to call your attention to 2 of the items on the board's agenda for today. Today's meeting is going to focus on 2 aspects of election administration: campaign finance with our consideration of regulations and the stand by your ad complaints, and election security as the board considers the method for this year's post-election risk limiting audit and considers approval of new standards for certifying voting machines to comply with federal standards. As this is the last meeting before the November general, I do just want to thank everyone who is involved in making this election happen over the next 60 days, including early voting, election day, and the post-election canvass. I'm also incredibly proud of our team at the Department of Elections and the way that they show up every day to serve election officials and voters in the Commonwealth. As you know, conducting elections is not a spectator sport. We need many hands to conduct an election, and we want as many voters as possible to participate. So to that end, our voter education campaign is going to be ramping up in the coming weeks with both a social media campaign and a paid media campaign with print, radio, and digital ads. The focus of our campaign is to educate voters about where, when, and how to vote, and let them know of the many options they have to cast their ballot. And that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Any members have any questions? Just for completeness, I think I understand that the tabletop that was done in August will meet the requirements of Executive Order 53 since early voting starts Friday and it's not practicable to do another one. Is that? Okay. All right. Then we will move on to the next item, which is why we're here today, to certify the special election done in the 11th Congressional District.
All right, we good? Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Before the board today is the abstract of votes and the certificate of election for the winner of the 2025 September 9th special election for the 11th Virginia congressional seat in the United States House of Representatives, which represents Fairfax City and Fairfax County. Per Virginia code, the results for this contest must be endorsed and subscribed on a certified statement from the State Board of Elections. Upon completion of the election, local general registrars entered all relevant election data into the election night reporting software and the Virginia election registration system. In accordance with Virginia code, local electoral boards conducted provisional ballot meetings and canvasses to ascertain and certify election results for their localities. Upon completion of canvass, the registrars forwarded their locality's certified abstracts of votes to the Department of Elections, and upon receipt of those abstracts, in order to ensure accuracy and completion, elect staff completed the following. Confirmed all required abstracts were completed and submitted, reviewed votes cast, ballots cast, and turnout comparison using validation errors found in the election night reporting software and others found by manual analysis, and asked localities to resolve and or explain any issues identified. We ran turnout and voting credit reports and asked localities to resolve and or explain any issues identified, and we compared the results listed in the abstracts to the results entered in the election night reporting software to ensure accuracy. Therefore, it is elect staff's recommendation that the board certified the statement to be correct and sign the statement and certificate of election. There's a suggested motion in the board's working papers, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Can you call the roll, please?
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, aye.
All right, thank you. So all members, please sign these documents and we'll complete this part of the agenda. Next item, our favorite, stand by your ad.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Bannon and Vice Chairman Dance and the members of the board. Today, we're going to do standby ad. We only have two before you today. One is a General Assembly candidate. The other one was Board of Supervisors. And so, am I driving or are you driving today? Okay. If you want, we can go right into it and start with the first hearing, or do you want to go over some of the preliminary stuff before?
Why don't you go ahead and just do the first one?
Just hop right in. Let's go. All right, we're going to start with Friends of Shane Boswell. He was committee code CC 2500083. The complaint against him was simply a no disclosure complaint. He has no disclosure. We only have the front of the business card, which does fall within the print media items that require disclosure. So that's what we have. We have a recommended motion in the PowerPoint presentation and the printout we've given you. So you can go to the next if you want to, well, we can leave this up, or do you want to move to the
Let's
motion?
talk. So do you have a recommended?
Yes, we have a recommended motion, but I don't know if Mr. Boswell is with us today. Oh, excellent.
All right. Well, yeah, come right on.
There wasn't anything in the letter about how to communicate with you guys other than to show up, so
Oh, well, you just- oh, okay.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Shane Boswell of Berryville, Virginia. I'm a candidate for House of Delegates for District 31 for 2025. Thank you for the opportunity to address this. I'm a first-time candidate. I messed up. The first batch of business cards I ordered was before I had campaign staff, and as of today, my campaign manager is still my 9-year-old. So I accept full responsibility for this oversight. It was mine, and as soon as I received the certified letter in the mail, I immediately called my wife and said, let's fix this. Let's destroy the old cards and order new ones. And I actually have them with me here. And I've also implemented a compliance check with a former candidate for House of Delegates for all new campaign material, Steve Foreman, who ran in my district last time, and also former delegate Wendy Goditis. So anything new that I generate, I send to them and say, please make sure that I'm in compliance. There's a lot of moving parts, and I got this wrong. So I accept whatever the board feels.
Well, I really appreciate your forthrightness and your coming down here and talking to us. I think it makes a difference in how we view things. So, any members have any comments? Yeah.
Here we go. And I remember my campaign manager, if it was my daughter, would have been 3 when I first ran. But I remember this well. I don't know I'm somewhat of a rookie here myself up on this side of the dais. I don't know if maybe we have discretion to waive these fines. I'm seeing a frown out in the audience.
So we can, she's going to give us some options.
Okay.
The balance here is that this is not a local race. It is a House race.
I understand.
But we have precedent and options for
All right.
leniency or de
Well,
minimis.
Why don't we see that? But I want to let you know how much we appreciate you showing up in person. Let me just leave it at that. Thanks.
I think he's with you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All
Good
right.
afternoon again. Actually, I don't believe we ever have had leniency when it comes to a House of Delegates candidate and it's just a $100 penalty for a first-time offense.
What is the penalty for?
$100 for a first-time offense.
So well, the board can do whatever it wishes.
Yeah, the board
but-
can.
But we have a precedent. I wonder about
Sets a precedent as far.
maybe a 50.
Go ahead. You can go back to that screen, yes, please. But since I've been here, no, there's been no precedence of waiving a first-time penalty for a General Assembly candidate.
Mr. Chair, question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is 100 the minimum, or that's just sort of the?
Minimum, that's
the
the
minimum.
flat fee. This
Okay.
was voted on by the board, I believe, in 2020 or 2021.
All right, well, I will sort of rescind my unmade motion to waive it completely. I think as long as that's the minimum, maybe we should just stick to the minimum. But again, just recognizing that the person was here to defend themselves, and that's appreciated. So I move that we just assert the minimum fine.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Elvis Long, aye.
All
Thank
right,
you.
now, on the second one, if you do a little background
Okay,
before.
so let's do a little background on this one. This one, because we do have disclosure on this, if this sign had been purchased prior, say in 2024, this one would be compliant. But because the board came together in, I believe it was January 15th of this year, and changed the compliance to having a box around it, because the only problem with this disclosure is it doesn't have the box around the disclosure statement. This candidate was sent the instructions for disclosure. Everybody in campaign finance received one. He received that notice on, excuse me, let me get that. It's in the packet that was handed in addition to what you have. When he submitted his statement of organization, he received the summary of laws and policies that was updated for January 18th, 2025, which, as you can see, I gave you the pages. And it even has pictures with what would be compliant. And on January 23rd, we sent 4 copies of the new SBYA guidelines for print media to his committee.
So everyone on his committee, comment users, comment admins, candidate and treasurer all received this SBY update.
All right.
Mr.
And
Chair.
Mr. Brand is with us today. He's online.
Okay.
Let's hear from him. Mr. Brand, welcome.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
We can, but we need to see you too. There. No,
I have camera on. Can you see me?
We can now see you. Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just confirming that I did file my campaign on the 21st of January. And I do believe I did recall seeing the stand by your ad guidance that was provided. But in my review here, the violation is for a violation of state code. And the state code requires that the document, the print media, to be conspicuous and defines conspicuous as being readily visible to a person so that the disclaimer is there and obvious. I've also consulted with a couple of the print media shops that I have used. All of them refer to state code as their basis for how they design and print the media. So I was kind of deferring to my print shop to be in compliance with state code in this situation. And so they said they refer to the state code when they design their stuff to make sure that they're doing things in compliance. I was trying to go back to my letter that I had drafted and submitted as part of the packet. Was that included in the packet provided?
Yes, sir.
Yep. And so the other challenge that I saw was I was reviewing the guidance that's been provided to political action committees and comparing it to the guidance provided to candidate campaigns. And there is a discrepancy in this section as it relates to print media, such that the PAC summary, which is currently online on the State Board of Elections website, section 14.3 for print media disclosure, says a visual statement is required on print media advertisements must be displayed in conspicuous manner, whereas the candidate summary has the box requirement stated there. However, I do want to refer to both of those documents in the very beginning, say to the effect that the summary is a basic reference tool and is not a substitute for the actual law. And so again, I go back to the state code sections that say that you need to provide a conspicuous disclaimer, and there's no reference to needing a box in that disclaimer.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the information here, and this gentleman in February spent $1,000 and something for his signs, and again, March, he spent over $606, and you're saying June 15th is when?
January 15th.
January 15th. Is
The
when,
email was received by everyone, or it was sent out January 23rd. The summary was updated fully on January 18th.
okay. So this went out in January, and
Yes, ma'am.
his first time, and he was saying, the vendors, I got a question. The vendors that he used, I guess this is your first time doing a campaign, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So the vendors that you used, and you said what you wanted, and even though you had this, they made these signs for you?
Correct.
Okay,
I
so,
asked them, I gave them the language for the disclaimer to be at the bottom, such as to say paid for by my campaign name, and they placed it on the design and the logo. So there, obviously with any graphic design, there's a few back and forth with how you come up with your final design, but they showed me clearly the logo on the bottom saying paid for, and they told me that that was compliant because of state code.
okay. So in this case, the vendors who that I was doing the work gave you an impression that they've been doing this, probably doing it for years, probably have been doing it for years. But this is a change, and this is a change that they didn't catch either, or they probably wouldn't have made let you spend this kind of money for something that wasn't, that didn't meet standard, right? That's what you assume. I don't want to put
Yes.
words in your mouth.
Yes,
Okay.
that's was my assumption going into this. After receiving the letter, I went back to the print shop that printed it, and I provided him a copy of the candidate campaign guide. And he said again that his view is it's not state code; it's a reference of how to be compliant, and he looked at it as one way of being compliant. And he's had no other candidates come to him asking for the box. He's really just been printing the logo as is. I did a drive around our community because there's lots of campaign signs still up and present. There are current candidates for state delegate and other higher offices that are showing the banner with just the name and no box around it. So there definitely is confusion in the vendor space for who's printing these, whether or not that box is required. I have seen obviously signs with the box on them. But again, I just go back to I'm looking around at what I can see. That there are multiple other campaigns actively running right now without the box on that, and that the guidance was not clear because it's in a guidance document and not the actual state code that print shops are referring to.
Hey, sir, when were you notified that you out of compliance? I know you got something, right?
I was
Somebody-
notified after the campaign was over. I ran in the primary for June 17th. I did lose that election. And I was not receiving this letter until August 20, well after the campaign was completed.
So as far as you're concerned, you've done a good job. Election's over with, but I'm sorry. As far as you're concerned, you did a good job. The election was over with, and now you know that you got a penalty
Correct.
coming, possibility of a penalty coming. Okay, all right.
Anybody else? So can we, what you sent us?
I sent you exactly what I sent Mr. Brand.
Okay.
These are the only two items that we have a flyer and we have one sign.
So-
And they both do contain a disclosure statement. They're only missing the box. That's all that's
So where's
missing.
the disclosure statement on this?
If you look on the very bottom, and if you look where it says authorized and paid for by Friends of Joe Brand, that was literally cut and pasted from
Right
that
here.
very sign.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's the same color as the sign.
It's close, but when you see the sign at a different angle, because I received other pictures that did not come before you, it was easier to see on those signs. But those were signs were,
And
didn't
and
qualify for this.
the code up, when was the new law passed?
You did that on January 15th of 2025. The summary of laws and policies was updated on January 18th of 2025. All candidate campaign committees received this new notice on January 23rd of 2025. His signs were purchased in February and March.
So anybody who has a sign printed before this year, before
Correct.
2025, is automatically grandfathered?
Correct.
So
Mr. Chair, I am leaning so hard because having been in a position of relying on vendors, reputable vendors, to do my signage, I guess I'm guilty of the same thing, not being a lawyer, not knowing all the paperwork. I would have probably been in the same box that this person is in. So if I was to do a motion right now, I'd move that we dismiss this one with prejudice or whatever you want to call it, but
Madam Vice Chair, I'm
yes, yes,
going to
sir.
respectfully
Just you can-
request that if a person speaks, that they should not make a motion after speaking.
Okay.
That we should probably
Oh, yes, sir.
kind of follow the rules and
Yes, sir.
have discussion.
Yes,
So, Senator Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you. And I am an attorney, unfortunately, and there's a concept called due process. Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which is incorporated to state agencies like ourselves by the 14th Amendment, which says that you have to put people on notice before any type of legal violation. And I'm concerned about a state code, which in and of itself does not put people on notice of what's required. And I understand that we promulgate regulations. It's not clear whether or not that regulation was promulgated. I don't see the notice here, so I'm having a hard time finding a violation. So I would be inclined to, frankly, agree with what my former and present colleague has recommended. I'll
All
leave it
right,
at that.
any other members of the board have any thoughts or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move to dismiss.
Is there further discussion? Call the roll.
Chairman O'Bannon,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance,
Aye.
Dr. Stolly,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson, Secretary Elvis Long, aye.
So I'm going
Thank
to
you.
make a modest proposal that we send this discussion to the winners of the elections this fall and the P&E committees, so that when we pass all these laws, that some ramification.
Yes, sir.
This stand by your ad is given to us to adjudicate by code, and these are the least fun part of this job. But
I'm well aware of that, sir. Yes.
anyway, all right. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Alexander.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Boswell, yeah, you had to do it. Yeah. All right, what's the next agenda item? Voting system certifications.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Bannon, Vice Chair Dance, and members of the board. Today in your board papers, you have documents pertaining to the request to approve updates to the Virginia voting system standards included in version 3.0 under the applicable code, Virginia Code 24.2-629. Your document packets include a copy of the proposed new Virginia voting system standards version 3.0. And just to give you a background, in February of 2021, the United States Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, approved updated voluntary voting system guidelines, which they refer to as the VVSG 2.0. Since its adoption in 2021, the EAC has continually developed test assertions it uses in voting system certification process. In July 2025, the AEC announced that it had completed testing and certified the very first vendor to the VVSG 2.0 compliance system standards. Virginia law requires testing of voting systems to ensure they meet federal requirements. As a result, elect staff have reviewed and made proposed updates to the Virginia voting system standards to ensure compliance with the VVSG 2.0 certification requirements by the EAC. And to update Virginia-specific assertions as well, these requirements were updated. Prior to requesting testing, the Virginia certification vendors must provide evidence of EAC certification to the new VVSG 2.0 standards. Some of the notable revisions in this new proposed standards are MFA, multi-factor authentication, role-based access control, RBAC, ADA compliance, and other changes include descriptions of Virginia-specific test assertions and methodologies to be used. An anticipated increase in testing time as well, because we had to incorporate the new VVSG 2.0 test assertions into our own standards. And updates to the requirements for the technical data package. If you don't have any questions, the suggested motions are in your board papers.
Mr. Chairman, is this this information, if I'm understanding, we got the information we got from, was it McGuire Woods, the representative from McGuire Woods was saying like the vendors or the localities would have to be implementing this based on the information that's involved, and it's pretty deep, and I'm not an expert in this area, that they're the ones that will be looking at the contracts and whatever, that they're concerned about a glitch, not a glitch, but the concern is that with all of this documentation, does it cover existing vendors, like the changes? All I know is like if you do an upgrade and certain telephones you got, I'm just using what I know, samples. Telephones you got, this one can be upgraded, but this one's gonna be, you're gonna lost all your money, throw it away. I'm not even gonna look at it. Is this something that they were asking about in all this stuff that was presented? And I'm not a lawyer. So in all the stuff that was presented, and as you listen, were they saying something that might be a just concern, that they get a chance to speak directly with you all, or more of the vendors that have these this equipment, that they would know better, or there's something that doesn't violate what we're trying to do, but would be more inclusive, if you will, to make sure that if my telephone is 14 and there's a 20, I can upgrade it, or and maybe I can't, but if I can, then this is the conditions that I must do. That there is some proviso in here, some exception, exclusion, or whatever that says, under these conditions, you can do X, Y, Z. Is that in here?
It is.
Am I honest? Did you understand? You know, am
I
too
understood
comfortable?
what you
Okay.
said, Vice
Okay.
Chair. It is. I think the position of the Department of Election is that the first thing is that the EAC approved the VVSG 2.0 in 2021. It's been almost 4.5 years since the approval of those standards.
Okay.
Everyone should be at least aware of those standards, vendors, localities as
Okay.
well. They just approved the first compliant vendor to be approved for those standards that were approved in 2021, which is why we made our changes, because we have to complement federal standards and guidelines.
Okay.
No one is decertifying, or we're not recommending to the State Board of Elections to decertify any currently certified systems. So they can keep those systems for now as long as they want to. We're not going to decertify them.
Okay.
There will be a window in which localities will be able to talk to the elect, talk to the vendors, and to help mitigate any issues that they may have, or to help them resolve anything that comes up with with migrating towards the new standard. They have time to do that. We haven't set a deadline such that everybody has to be VVSG 2.0 in 2 years. We haven't done that. We're allowing everybody to keep their currently certified systems. I believe that answers the question that you're asking.
I think I am, but can I ask, Mr. Chair? Can I ask our legal rep and then our board legal rep to tell me whether I'm understanding this right in regards to the request that came during the public hearing? Yes, aren't you all? You are a member?
I would say you're priceless, chap, but go ahead and answer the question.
What's the question?
Let me,
There was a concern from then during a public hearing
Yes.
that a representative, they're from McGuire, but it doesn't matter who they're from, they're from the industry, to say that could they listed this page and they wanted some exclusions, could they get they wanted us to waive voting today is what I understand, to give them some more time to talk with the elections board or whoever, this gentleman right here probably, whether or not there is some exceptions, or would their telephone be outdated or not be able to be even considered because it's a 2014 and we're now in 2025, even though it's certified for right now, but when this change comes or whatever, as they go, it won't work anymore. Does that make sense?
May I make a comment?
I want to defer for now.
You've heard that?
I will.
Yes, sir.
I will make this comment that we will allow hybrid. In other words,
okay.
we assume that there will be some localities who will have to, say, for instance, buy their VVSG 2.0 scanners first because of the cost involved in it. And then they're going to have to still use maybe a 1.1 electronic poll book or something like that system. So there's going to be some hybrid, or in other words, we feel like we're not going to be able to get a locality to completely purchase and have everything 2.0 standard as soon as they purchase the equipment. So I think that because of that, localities should feel comfortable that the Department of Elect is not going to kind of push VVSG 2.0 on them at this time. Of course, it's been around since 2021, and it has some very strong security structures involved. And we, of course, want our systems to be very secure. And so we're inching towards that goal, that we have stronger voting system equipment based upon functionality and based upon security.
I'm just saying, I understand that based on that security workshop, I learned something, because I had no idea that when you say security, that as far as breaches, I was thinking millions, but then I heard billions of breaches that we have in security systems. So I can understand the need for continuing to upgrade what you got in place. But I think that's what they're concerned about. If it upgrades to the point of maybe my hybrid's not going to work, because with the way the law is, they're going to wait for a General Assembly to go through all these sessions as we do, as I'm not one, as they do, to get something just right for the industry.
I would like to also point out something in the new standards. I believe it's on page 7.
Okay.
2.1, federal compliance testing. Elect will make the final decision on compliance based on available information. If there is evidence of a material noncompliance, Elect will work with the vendor to resolve the issue. I bring that up because we're going to work with localities as best as possible to make sure that the migration to the new 2.0 fits their goals as well.
Okay.
So I'm just going to, I hope I'm going to be factual here. If I'm not, please let me know. What we're talking is certification of machines. We're talking vendors.
Yes.
And we're talking folks who have been retained as lobbyists to represent specific groups.
The lobbyist part, I'm not sure of, but the vendor part, yes.
Mr. Thomas is earning his money. I think it's also fair to recognize that there are other vendors who are pushing these standards because
yes,
they are maybe a little further along in the process.
They are.
And so I think that just everybody understand that on balance when we.
I like page 7.
Right now, we have one compliant vendor, and at this time, there are 2 vendors who are in the pipeline to be certified VVSG 2.0 by the EAC.
I got you. And Mr. Thomas is right. The General Assembly may pass another law this year, in which case we'll have to come back and revisit it. And we can revisit it any time. And you've got language that says you'll work with the vendors.
Yes.
I see it. I'm okay now.
Any more discussion? Ms. Beals?
I just want to take a fraction of a sentence that you said about billions of breaches. We were made aware of billions of attempts. No, not billions of breaches, just to clarify. Thank you. So there are lots of attempts to breach, not actual breaches.
Thank you so much for correcting me, because that's exactly what I meant. I didn't mean that many through was getting through. That's how tight the breach is. I mean, that's how tight the system is, that they are protecting us against billions. Can you believe that? Billions of people trying to mess with our voting system.
I think I am reassured about November after hearing this discussion. Any more comments? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, hold on, lost my cheat sheet. I move that we approve what has been, there's my paper, help me. I have my cheat sheet, he can help me with it. Thank you very much. I move that the board approve the proposed updates to the Virginia voting system standards, including version 3.0 presented to the board.
Is there a second?
Second. Thank you.
No more discussion. Call the roll, please.
Move my
Chairman
papers
O'Bannon.
forward.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson. Secretary Elvis Long.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrews. And I appreciate public comment too. It's helpful for the debate. So thank you, Mike. All right. It gets more fun.
Oh, yes, more fun.
Risk limiting audit.
I appreciate the fact that I'm not the least favorite portion of your job. So good afternoon, Chairman O'Bannon, members of State Board of Elections. Today I'm presenting to you 2 administrative factors for the upcoming RLA in November following the general election. First, we will be doing the selecting a procedural method for the RLA in November, and then we will be setting the risk limits. So with that, pursuant to 24.2-671.2B5, as well as the RLA manual that y'all approved earlier this year, the State Board of Elections must choose the method for conducting the statutorily required RLA for the general election. This year, as was previously noted by some commenters, that this year will be a randomly chosen House of Delegates district that'll be chosen later this year on November the 17th at your next State Board meeting. Currently, there are two methods that are approved by the State Board of Elections, that being ballot polling and batch comparison, both of which have been successfully done in the Commonwealth. And with that, I will just say that ELECT recommends that the SB vote on the method, either for ballot polling or batch comparison. And there are motions in your memo. So with that, I will take any questions.
So just first, are there any questions?
No.
Okay.
Question, but I have a comment.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and make your comment?
Okay, I've heard both sides, for and against batch comparison and ballot polling. I think I'm one of the only board members here up here who's been a former local electoral board member themselves. I have conducted myself in Augusta County with ballot polling in, I think it was the 2020 election, and we chose like 14 ballots out of all of our ballots in Augusta County using the ballot polling method because that's all we had as an option. I'm hearing lots of voters since then telling me, not just in Augusta County, but other areas, that perception is a big thing. I use that word a lot. I also use confidence in elections, I hear a lot. Batch comparison seems to, in my opinion, from what I've been hearing, is better understandable just because they're doing a larger amount of ballots. Statistically, I agree, possibly they're all the same. I think statistically, maybe they are, but getting people to understand that is not always easy. So batch comparison is what I have been sort of persuaded into believing that is a better method just because of the perception and the confidence that people feel in it. Maybe totally the same as ballot polling, but I'm hearing batch comparison, and that's what I will probably stand with.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I was pretty much gonna, because it's just one thing, I was gonna let it slide, but I can't, I really, and this is just, I feel based on my experiences that we know that it's gonna cost a little bit more to do that. We know that the results show that what we have is working. We know that what we have is working, and I refer to that as, when I say what we have, that is a ballot polling, which we've been using, it seems like forever and a day. I don't know how many days ago, how many years ago, but it's been working. And it's good to have a system that is recognized as working, that requires the least amount of manpower to make sure that we get the desired outcome, if the desired outcome wasn't coming from that method. And it was that the other one is better. I look for better. I want to be more efficient. I want to be less time, but getting the desired results. And so and there's volunteers. So when I think about volunteers and how much I know I needed them when I was out there campaigning, that if I can use them and I can use the desire there, that they've got all that they bring to the table, let's let them have the most efficient way. I love the way the chair runs these meetings because he doesn't play around. We do our work and we get out of here. So with that in mind, even though we're just dealing with one area, I think why would we not do ballot polling? Because we've had about 5 chances on the other, but we know that it's good. It's a good system, but I like most cost effective. That's just me. That's just me.
Thank you. So we have, again, kind of lost parliamentary procedure here, having discussion without a motion, but I'm gonna just make a comment here. We've heard public comment for both methods. We've heard board members. We've got both. Our job today is to pick the method and then the threshold. The
Yes, sir.
actual race, which will be one house, unlike last year, will be one House of Delegates race that has been decided by more than 1 percentage point. So it will not be a super close risk limiting audit, and it will only be one House race. So having said that, I guess I'll open the floor for motions.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we continue with the batch system. I don't know how.
Batch comparison?
Yes.
That's not the main,
That's the one I
That's
chose.
not-
It's not the one that runs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me withdraw the motion then.
Okay, who?
Mr. Chair,
All right.
I move that we use a ballot polling.
All right, is there a second? All right, that motion is properly before us. Is any discussion? Want to call the roll on that one? Make a substitute motion, or you can make a comment, or,
I'm just going to continue my comment.
okay.
I guess the only thing that I was just trying to get at was I don't disagree that it might take more time. I don't disagree that it might take more resources. I just think perception is a big thing, and the more ballots you can count to let people understand that we've done an extensive risk limiting audit, that it's just more perceivable. So I would be voting against the ballot polling.
All right,
for
any
that
other?
reason.
So call the roll.
Chairman O'Bannon,
Nay.
Vice Chair Dance,
Aye.
Dr. Stolly,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, nay.
All right, that motion fails. Is there a substitute or new motion?
Mr. Chair, I think the motion passed, didn't it?
It passed because it was 3-2.
What? Did I vote?
Senator
You
Dance's
did.
motion passed.
Mhm. Dr. Stolly voted for it.
Oh, okay.
If I may, last year when we did the discretionary U.S. Senate race, it was rolled in there also that what method was chosen for that. And at that time, it was a 2/3 majority vote.
So,
I don't,
Mr. Chair, may I ask a point of?
yes, sir.
So we voted on, the motion was to adopt the ballot polling method. And that motion passed on a 3-2 vote.
3-2, right?
All right, and then do we actually have to set the threshold? Is that the next vote?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Yep.
That's a separate vote.
Yes, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, do we have a recommendation on that?
Claire?
Far as, are you, if I could, Mr. Chair, Mr. Peterson, are you referring to the opinion on which method?
I see there's a risk limit of 10%. Is that?
That is a separate motion. Yes, sir. That's a separate,
That's the next item.
that's the
Okay,
next item.
all right.
Yes, sir.
So that motion by Vice Chair Dance passes 3-2.
Mhm.
And we'll now move on to the next item.
So next is setting that risk limit, as Mr. Peterson mentioned. This has previously been set to 10%. This is essentially the threshold that is set for the RLA to achieve. In previous times, it has been met consistently. And staff continues to recommend 10% be set for both the November 2025 RLA as well as for any possible approved RLAs requested by local electoral boards.
All right, thank you. And just for the benefit of the new members, as long as I've been here, 10% has been the number. We've had some discussions, but I think most everybody has been historically comfortable with that, just by way of history. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
Second.
Any further comment? Call the roll, please.
Chairman O'Bannon,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance,
Aye.
Dr. Stolly,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, aye.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
So
See you in
by
November.
random drawing, we will pick the House race to be audited at our November the 17th meeting.
Correct.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Smith. 2026 locality election security standards.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Bannon, Vice Chair Dance, members of the board. You have before you the updates to the LESS standards. These updates focus again on clarity and simplification. Our goal is to have as much understanding as possible for the localities as to what is expected from them and their IT departments to help them better their cybersecurity posture.
Gotcha. Any questions? Where do we go next with LESS? We just continue to revise these as
So the proposed next step from the VRSS group was to look at aligning the LESS with established security compliance audits such as SEC 530 or NIST 853.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the State Board of Elections adopt revised 2026 locality elections security standards effective December 1, 2025.
I second.
All right, any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, aye.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, I think we're down to closed session. Is there a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7 and A8, I move the board go into closed session for the purpose of discussing voting security matters made confidential pursuant to 24.2, 410.2 pending and threatened litigation and legal aspects proposed regulatory action requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel. In accordance with Section 2.2-3712F, Susan Beals, Commissioner of Elections, Steve Koski, Election Services Manager, Brandon Smith, Chief Information Officer, and Andrew Murphy, and Dennis Polio, Office of the Attorney General, will attend the closed session because their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of the subject of the meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, aye.
All right, thank you. All right. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to reconvene the meeting in open session and take a roll call vote certifying that to the best of each member's knowledge, only such public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard or discussed by the State Board of Elections.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Call the roll, please.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Alvis Long, aye.
Thank you. Mr. Koski, personal use of campaign funds regulations.
Vice Chair, members of the board. I have for you today, for your consideration, two proposed regulations. Just to give you some background on it, House Bill 2165 and Senate Bill 1002 were identical bills passed in the 2025 legislative session, and they provided for the following: the prohibition of the personal use of campaign funds, the creation of an advisory opinion process for candidates to request advisory opinions from the state board about the permissibility of expenditures, and the creation of a complaint and hearing process related to violations of this new prohibition. The provisions of this legislation are not effective until July 1st of 2026, but the bill said that the state board has to promulgate regulations to put this into effect within 280 days of the effectiveness of the bill. Because of this truncated time period, the Administrative Process Act allows for this regulation to be done under the emergency procedures. So there are kind of is a more streamlined process related to that. The regulations that are required by the bill, they must be substantially similar to the federal regulations in relation to advisory opinions and to the prohibition on personal use. So these proposed regulations, they are substantially similar. There are some necessary modifications to account for differences in Virginia's government, the differences between the bill and the existing federal law, and other existing state law that we have. So these differences are mainly in relation to the prohibition on personal use, and they include kind of specific things like aircraft travel and candidate compensation. And just a note on these regulations are more, they're more guidance document for candidates to use. It's not a strict exhaustive list of everything that is and is not a personal use. The advisory opinion process you'll get into some of these more discrete issues about whether they are or not personal use. And then as you build up those advisory opinions, those will be relied upon as well for candidates going forward. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Mr. Chairman? Pursuant to 2.2-4011 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the State Board of Elections approve proposed 1 Virginia C 2090-50 and 1 VAC 2090-60, both as presented.
I second.
Thank you. There's a motion properly seconded before the board. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Chairman O'Bannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dance.
Aye.
Dr. Stolly.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Aye.
Secretary Elvis Long, aye.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our agenda. I want to appreciate the public's input and staff from the department who are faithful to be here with us. And absent additional business will be concluded. See everybody in the Patrick Henry Building on Election Day. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, we have one more document to sign?
Yeah.
Okay, we got to sign one more document.